talking about sex today, and you're joining us live for a live recording of the podcast. So Kayla and I are going to be having a discussion with you about what we're seeing as a trend that's happening with sex and how it is impacting not only your relationship to the person that you want to have sex with, but also how it's showing up in your business and in your career, and then also how it's just showing up and affecting you and the way that you are living and being. So let me add Kayla to the mix. She's here right now. Earlier, so stay tuned if you could just give us a second. But I think you're going to walk away from today's conversation, no matter where you're at. If you are in a relationship, Kayla, switch the camera around because we can only see the light. You're going to walk away from today's conversation where you are going to be able to take something away from the conversation.
So annoying.
It's okay. Hey, there you are. I see you. Hi. So no matter, I was just saying to everybody that no matter where you are in your relationship, whether it's you're having sex with somebody, whether you're married, whether you're not having sex with anybody at this point, you will be able to take something away from this conversation. So why the topic of sex has been coming up for us and also within our coaching clients is, as we've been coaching people, we are seeing that there is a massive decrease in sex drive. And so that means just like wanting to even have sex, even though they really love having sex. So if this is you, give us some hearts and let us know if this is resonating with you, because what we're finding is people are, men or women, doesn't matter, are finding that they're so stressed out that they don't even know that they're stressed out. They don't even know that is impacting them. So today what we wanted to share with you, hello. Yeah, because sometimes it's just kind of like, I'm not in the mood, I'm tired, whatever the case may be, even though we really love and enjoy sex. So that hasn't necessarily been my experience, but I know you just raised your hand, and I know for many of our coaching clients, they've been saying the same thing. So what Kayla and I thought we would do is record a live version of my podcast, Anything for Love. You'll be able to go back and listen to this on Spotify or on iTunes. And let's share with you 3 things that Kayla and I are doing to boost our sex drive so that you can do all, some, whatever you want. Kayla, any insight into what I just shared around stress? I know with your medical background, coming back from a physician assistant career and then also coaching, what are you seeing around stress as it relates to sex drive?
Oh, we're so disconnected from our bodies and we have no idea. Like you said that, and I know we've had private conversations where like around your dating experiences, and I have moments where I envy that, like that fiery connection is still so much alive for you, because once I had kids, it was like this switch kind of turned off, and suddenly there's this huge switchboard that appeared without me even knowing it, and certainly without my husband being aware of it. And I'm seeing this a lot with clients, right? Especially clients who have kids. The caretaker in us takes over, and we forget how much we enjoy sex, and all the daily stress impacts us to where that neural network, right, like our nervous system, we get those little kinks, and so it's so quiet and slow that we don't even realize. It's like when you wake up and you're not hungry in the morning anymore, right? You just assume that's normal, right? You just get up and go and like you do your thing. But that's not good for us. It's just like that with sex drive. We don't remember that there's that natural hunger and drive for that deep, physical, intimate connection. So I'm excited we're talking about it.
You're reminding me too that I'm seeing it with a lot of clients who are single, whether they're in a relationship or not. I'm also seeing it with business owners, and I'm also seeing it with married couples, both in men and women. So this is kind of running the gamut with everyone. So if you're finding that you're somebody who really loves and enjoys sex, but maybe just haven't been that interested in having it as much as you normally do, to Kayla's point, like when you get into the routine of the day-to-day responsibilities, that can be what lowers it. And you may not even realize that you're stressed out and it's causing your cortisol levels to rise and for you to be more tired and things like that, weight gain, and like you can add so much to the mix that makes you want to be like, I'm good, I'm gonna hold out. So we're really hoping that with Kayla and I sharing our experience today, that you'll be able to walk away from the conversation going, okay, I'm gonna try that like one thing that will help me boost my sex drive and make more time for it. So Kayla, do you want to share your 3 tips for boosting your own sex drive?
Yeah, and you know what? I actually came up with four
Same.
for myself, like four that women could take away, and then I have three that men could take away to
Oh,
like
that's a
help
good
us,
one.
because I know that men would love, like I've gotten this question a lot, I was like, how can I help her want to connect with me again? So the four big ones for me, like the easiest one that I would start with, that is like the most minimal effort, is exposing my eyeballs to the outside world. It's exposing it first thing in the morning to the sunshine. If it's like a sunny day, which in Florida it is most of the time, all it takes is 5 minutes.
Yep.
If it's like overcast, right, if I need closer to like 10, 15. And then I really, really try to get like a half an hour outside. So just increasing the time spent outdoors. And that's because it's going to impact the body's hormone production. It's going to naturally lower those stress hormones. And our stress hormones are linked with how much we produce testosterone and progesterone and all the
All the
sexy
ones
hormones that make
we
us,
need to make us want to sleep
yeah,
and to have good
right? So
sex.
that absolutely, yeah, to enjoy it, to be like, yeah, okay, I've been missing this. So it's like that outdoor exposure, and then you could couple that with the blue light blockers at night, right? Like if, especially if you're inside all the time, like go outside a little bit more, start really, really small, and then block some of the blue light at nighttime. The second one would be like making my mind actually have to think about
Okay.
sex. So that would be like a show, like my big one, I shared this with you, is Outlander. I love that show. For
I've
me,
heard that.
it reminds me of like our dynamic. Like Claire, I very much relate to her. And then Jamie Fraser reminds me of Silvano. So I just love it because it reminds me of all the best aspects of our relationship. Or like sexy books, right? Because then our brain is thinking about it. So it's at least on the radar. The third thing is like you and I have talked about how much we're obsessed with the workout witch, the somatic exercises from
Yes.
the workout witch,
Yeah.
because within 3 days, I remember texting you my experience with that. Like I started sleeping better. I was like doing one of the little moves, and they're like little shakes and little
Yeah.
moves. It's like the most gentle. I hate calling it exercises because it's
It's
more
not
like,
exercise. It's more like rocking and like rubbing
yeah,
your
self love.
ears and like moving your
Yeah.
neck. Yeah.
um, because it impacted so many things so fast. It's like magic. So I love that. We'll share like a discount code in the link for that. And then body work. So I've been doing breath work every morning. If I can, I like to try to do it at night, but it's because chronically we're so stressed that I don't do deep belly breaths. I shallow breathe a lot of the time. If you're overthinker, right? High achiever, it's like we're so go, go, go that we're holding our breath a lot. And so you're not getting that movement. And
I
so
wonder how many of
breathing, like
us
good.
just took a breath as we did it. Did everybody do this? Give me some hearts. Like we
We're
were all
like, oh shoot, oh yep. Yeah, so it's like even getting the diaphragm moving up and down the way that it's supposed to, even for like 10 minutes of breath work a day, you're getting an internal
yeah.
massage. And that's communicating with the sex organs. It's safe to produce sex hormones because if your body thinks that you're near panic all the time, it doesn't want you to have sex. Like procreation is not at the top of its to-do list. So that's my four for women. Do you want to share your ones for women before we jump into the ones I have
Yeah.
for men?
And
Or
a
add
couple of them are the
thoughts?
same. So
Okay.
I feel like for those of you who really resonate with being able to like think about sex and kind of get into the mood, I find like a good non like what is it? Non like a fiction book, which is just like a Colleen Hoover or Elin Hildebrand who writes about Nantucket, like anything that just can sort of get your mind off and it's like into a love story. I read Fourth Wing recently, a lot of sex in that book. It's just sort of to turn it on and to be like, oh, that's interesting. And you can kind of watch, like I've even noticed when I'm reading a book and there's a sex scene, like legs start to open and I just sort of start to like breathe deeply. And I think for so many of us who are in the personal development world, we can kind of get stuck in a rut with listening to podcasts and to TV shows and documentaries and books about how to improve and grow and get better. But the reality is like sex is a natural thing that is one of the basic needs, and in whether that's with yourself or with someone else. And I feel like what I'm seeing is we all of us have been so impacted by things outside of our control, whether it's the people, how people act towards us, whether it's the war that's happening in Ukraine, like all of these things have happened that increases our level of stress and we don't even know we're stressed. So our tolerance for stress, what used to be hard, is not really hard anymore because we've just our body has adapted to it. It's kind of like the first time you've ever worked out. It's really tough and you're like, oh my God, I can't even do a push-up. And then you just keep building and building and building that tolerance. And now you're able to like punch out 10, right? So it's the same thing with stress, but in this case, we're trying to lower the stress. And I love the ideas that you gave. So I wrote a couple down. I think number one was the workout witch. So she's on Instagram. If you want to go to the workout witch, she's amazing. I love how in her content, she's always talking about like, if you leave your hand up in the air, like, what does that mean? If you tend to like sleep with T-Rex arms, what does that mean? And what she's really getting at is that our body gives us signs and symptoms that we are stressed and overly stressed. And as a result of that, there's little movements like rocking that you can do, hip openers, moving the head from side to side, rubbing your ears. And what this does is calm the vagal nerve to just chill out and calm down and be like, oh, she's safe, like, or he's safe. There's nothing going on. I can just relax, which will naturally increase your ability and desire to want to have sex. The second thing is self-pleasure. So unfortunately, because we're on Instagram, I can't say what the word really is, but it's MASTURBATION. Okay. If you need to repeat that back, but self-pleasure. Okay. So like, even in the moments when I'm like, I don't really want to, I'm kind of tired. But if I feel that feeling of being turned on, I'm like, I really have been connecting to it more. Like, okay, let me just take the time to really enjoy this and not rush. And I think sometimes in the past with self-pleasure, I've definitely rushed and been like, I just need the orgasm, because I actually use it to get rid of my migraines too. So the one thing I want to be mindful, if anyone's listening to this and you followed me from back in the day when I used to do sex and love addiction coaching and still do relationship and codependency coaching, is you want to make sure that you're not using self-pleasure as a way to disconnect from the day. It is not a way to relieve stress and alleviate tension despite having a migraine. It is really focused on how to connect back to yourself. So you don't want to use it in excess, like kind of like how some people use drinks, right? They're like, oh, I've had a long day, let me get a glass of wine. It's like, you don't want to go, oh, I've had a long day and I'm super stressed, let me masturbate. Oh, I said it, so I don't know if this will get published. But that being
You're
said,
canceled. You're canceled.
you canceled by Instagram. So something to consider is just sort of tuning in, lighting a candle, if you feel up to it. I don't most times, but like dimming the lights, really just allowing that feeling to take over and allow myself to take my time with wherever I'm desiring touch. And often using my mind to visualize like somebody that I would want to be touching me. That can be really supportive. Or we've all done it, replaying old scenes from the past that have worked really well. Like that's fine too, just as long as you're feeling present within your body and really tuning into. And similar to what Kayla had mentioned about breathing, one of my old coaches, Brianna, she had mentioned that breathing in and out actually through the vaginal wall can be really supportive to just sort of calm everything down and just sort of get into a greater mood and connection with yourself. And honestly, it makes the orgasms come faster, and it also makes more of them come. No pun intended. So then the other
Maybe a
thing
little.
is I did say this earlier when you said it, but a romantic book. I just feel like that is such a great way to kind of get in the mood and get out of personal development. And then last but not least, funny enough, is actually being able to call a friend who's funny, and it has nothing to do with talking about sex. Like it's literally calling my best friend and just being super silly, because what I find is when I am overwhelmed, feeling stuck or confused in my career, or in my love life for that matter, I will start to feel more stressed and I don't feel the desire to have sex. So if I can go have fun, be silly, it really sets the mood. And then especially like if you're getting to know someone, texting them or whatever, sexting can also be a really great way if you feel safe enough to do that. And I think you would just know what those boundaries are for yourself. But that's something that I would have done, would recommend.
That makes so much sense. You know why? Like you can't, if you're laughing, you obviously have to be at that top of the nervous system ladder, right? That safety, connection, engaged to self. Like you're not going to be laughing if you're at the bottom of the ladder. It's like the last thing. So that makes perfect sense. And then the things that you can add if you're having a hard time too, like if you want to spend that time to yourself, you mentioned with the M word that shall not be mentioned so we don't get canceled.
Self-pleasure, if you would.
Yeah. Just if you're having a hard time relaxing into that, you can engage more of the senses. So taking that extra step to like put on music that makes you feel very sensual, right? To get, again, access more of those cranial nerves that talk directly to the nervous system to tell your body to that it's safe to like be in your body. Because most of the time, really 100% of the time, we're struggling with sex drive because we're in our head. So the music, right, setting the tone with that, and then a smell that gets another different cranial nerve engaged. So putting on a candle. So it's like you're priming, right? Kind of like babies when you have a bedtime routine. If you have like a sexy time routine, then you will actually start to train your body to relax when those cues are in place.
Yeah, I think you bring something up that's really important too, is, and I know we're going to go into this, is how differently men and women connect related to sex and what men can do if they're in partnership with a woman. And so we're giving that as frame of reference, just so you all know it, because Kayla and I are both attracted to men, right? So for purposes of this conversation, you may still be able to take something from it, regardless of whether or not you specifically are in a relationship to or attracted to men. So, but you mentioned something that made me think of when I am getting to know someone, if, and I know you use this with your husband, he walks you. I actually was on a date the other day and talked about this, is that when you and your husband go for a walk, you're feeling more connected, you're feeling more flirtatious. And it's because for women, we connect with sex based on emotion and what we're talking about and what we're laughing about. That's not to say that men don't connect through emotion. You guys absolutely do, but it's definitely more physical. Like you could just have it and no big deal, or you could go. And for us, most of the women that I've coached on relationships have said, "Oh no, like give me a minute. Like I need some time to get warmed up." Right. So
Uh-huh.
what's your advice to men who are in relationship to women or attracted to women and wanting to date them, or even married too, on how to help your significant other be able to really step back into having an increase in sex drive and wanting more sex and really enjoying it?
Yeah, the biggest thing I think is there's probably been a past history of a lot of them doing the initiating and them then getting turned down. So I just want to acknowledge that the advice that I'll give, like I preface it by saying like you've probably already been doing a lot of the work to initiate sex and maybe it hasn't been leading anywhere and that can feel super frustrating. I think it's worth having that conversation, with her to just acknowledge, right? For men, the physical connection, like it is a way that they express
Mm.
love to us. And I don't think that all of us as women 100% have understood that. So it can feel deeply rejecting when we're saying no all the time. So things that have helped my husband to get me to want to say yes more often would be like, first of all, just priming me by saying, like, letting me know he would like to, right?
Yeah.
Letting me know, because it's just not on my radar as often as I would like and as often as it should be and as often as he would like it to be. So I acknowledge that I need help in that arena. Like I will chase and lead in the emotional department because I crave that emotional
Mm-hmm.
connection, but that deep physical desire does come more from him at this point. So for him to just even say to me in the morning or even if it's later in the evening, like, hey, I would like to connect, tonight, like, do you want me to put the kids to bed?
Mm-hmm.
And we've had that conversation prior to where that's kind of the lead up to like, oh, okay, let me check in with myself. Yeah, that would be really great so that I can go like kind of start the relaxing process,
It's
the calming down, get into my body, let me relax. Because let me tell you, coming from bedtime, especially with 3 kids, and then jumping right into that, because a lot of times we wait till the end of the night, which like it's not ideal because we're
I'm
so
not
stressed by the
an
time.
evening person.
No, it's not ideal at all. So it takes a lot more work to get into like that frame of mind. And he is better at being able to just like turn the switch on for him to like be ready to go. So
Mhm.
to just even offer like, hey, what could I do to help kind of like get us there?
Take stuff off
Super.
the plate, the
Yes.
to-do list, or be able to relax,
Yes.
or do you want to go take a shower or take a bath? Like, I do
Mm-hmm.
find that even single without having kids, I find that when in relationships with somebody, and if he is wanting to have sex and initiates it, and I'm not there yet, if he were to say to me like, well, what do you need, like, do you want to, A, but B, do you want to get some things off your plate so that, or off your mind, so
Yeah.
that you can. And I know for me, every time I've like been able to do any of that, whether it's, hey, I really wanted to go make the bed, or like, oh, hey, I would really love to tell you about my day, I'm instantly turned on.
Yeah. It doesn't take much.
No, it
It's like just
doesn't.
that, first of all, not taking it as like an outright rejection that like I need that initiation from you more so right now. And then like being willing to just pose the question of like, are you open to it? And then do like, is there something I could do to help get you there, sort of thing, right? And have it not mean anything about you. It has to do with me and what I need for my body to calm down to get to where we ultimately both want to be, which is connecting with each other.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest one. And yeah, you already said like about the walking. I always joke and ask my husband, I'm like, okay, I need you to walk me because that talking and that emotional connection,
Oh, yeah.
especially with the bilateral movement, I love. And if we can go from that walk straight to bed, like that's even better.
I don't think
So
enough men know that. Like, for example, I was giving someone an example. I was like, yeah, like the kind of day that we had today, like that makes me super turned on. And what was the day, right? The day was like listening to live music and like bantering back and forth and being funny and like then having moments of like really important conversation and then pulling back and like going away from each other and not being able to be near each other and then coming back. It's like that sort of stuff all day was
mhm.
like, oh my God, I like really want to have sex. So it's really interesting to just be like, okay, these are things that if you kind of tune in for yourself as you're going back and either listening to this in real time or you're listening to it on the podcast, go back and watch this again, listen to it again and be like, okay, what were the things that Katie and Kayla really said to me? Because I think when you're more in tune with your body and what you actually need, you'll be able to actually express what you need. And what I'm seeing with clients, Kayla, as well, is that many of the women who are running businesses, even with their partners, right, are almost like hyper masculine. Like they're almost the ones that are leading and initiating the sex and then getting turned down. And so we're seeing it with men too, that you guys are overly stressed. You're focused on protecting and providing and getting shit done so that you can have a really beautiful life. And as a result of that, what's happening is she's feeling like she's in decision fatigue because she's constantly making decisions and leading and leading and leading and never really letting him lead anymore. And I've had a couple clients talk about this, and my homework for them has been in the moment when you feel like you're about to go make another decision, like, do you want pizza or do you want sushi? It's like you can say what you want, but also just let him choose and go do it, right? If he says to you, I'm going to clean the plates and bring them up, don't be like, you don't have to do that. It's like, just let him. Like, he wants to do it.
Mhm.
He wouldn't have offered. Like, men are so good about that. They will not offer to do something if they do not want to do it. And we
That's an
call them
us thing.
selfish. It,
We do that.
we do that, exactly. We as women do that, but men do not. Men, I think, are get the rap of being selfish, but in reality, they are hardwired and programmed to be able to put their needs first so that they can take care of other people. With women, we tend to take care of other people so that we can take care of other people. Take care of ourselves. And as a result of that, that's where the disconnect is coming from. So I think number one, it's like looking at what the list was. So I'm just going to reboot it here. Somatic exercises, we recommended the workout witch, self-pleasure, taking your time with it. Remember too, for those of you who have sex with women, and women, know this about your body. I wrote this down. The clit has all these nerve endings that go inside the legs all the way down from like where your bum is all the way up to the sides. Like think about it as your entire bikini line. So don't just play with the clit. Go all the way down and around. And this is a great tool for men. Is like, don't go straight for the clit. I've never, ever in my entire life of coaching, talking to girlfriends about sex, have had women say, oh, I love when he just goes right for the clit. Never. My girlfriends and my coaching clients are always like, when he teases me and goes all the way up and around the bikini line, I am dying for him to touch me there. And so if you take nothing from today, men, please, with all due respect, stop touching the clit right away.
You should have made them pay for that advice,
Seriously,
Katie.
that is free 99, but you are welcome to come into coaching if you would like more advice about that. Fun with a funny friend, and then romantic book. Kayla, do you want to recap your four and then the advice for guys?
Yeah, I'll just go right into it. Mine were pretty much the same as yours. So for men, I'd say acts of service, massage works great. Get her into her body prior to. I didn't talk about this one, but just kind of knowing where she's at in her cycle. The first two
Yeah.
weeks are the best time to go for it. Mid-month, mid-cycle for her, she's probably going to say yes, and it's going to be fun for both of
Mm-hmm.
you. Towards the latter half of the month, expect you might need to put in a little bit more effort. And there might be some more no's than there is that first part
Yeah,
of the month.
that's fair.
So
Awesome. All right, you guys. Well, we hope that you enjoyed the podcast. If you want to come in and do some coaching with us, we have everything from $150 offer that you can do like one-on-one coaching with, all the way up into the thousands if you want private coaching with us. And we have a group called Sex, Love, and Money where we dive into this and give you like live personalized feedback. So if you are interested in this, you can send me a DM. Literally, don't comment on the video below. Just instead send me a DM and say interested. And then from there, if you prefer not to and want to email, you can email support@katiegrimes.com. Happy to do a consultation with you where we can just all get to know each other, and for us to be able to recommend to you what coaching we think would be best for you. And or if it's not us, we will make recommendations of other coaching or other like services or products that we've used that have really helped us to be able to get you what you need and have you having better sex, more of it, and really enjoying it. All right. We'll see you on the next episode of Anything for Love. Check us out on Spotify and iTunes. A lot of love, everybody, and health and happiness.